Welcome back to Kdramas Decoded, and don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an episode of your favorite K-drama. Episode 11 of Spooky in Love picks up with Yuri making a heartbreaking decision about her relationship with Kangwook. After everything that has happened, Yuri tells Kangwook that she thinks they should break up, and she doesn't just mean taking some time apart. She wants to call off their engagement completely. Kangwook is shocked. He asks if Yuri met his grandmother, and Yuri admits that his grandmother's words have been weighing heavily on her. But there is another reason she has become even more determined to leave him. Yuri has discovered that Kangwook previously underwent heart surgery. She is hurt that he never told her. Kangwook apologizes and explains that he had intended to tell her, but he was afraid she would worry, so he kept missing the opportunity. But Yuri says that's exactly the kind of worry she doesn't want to keep experiencing. She tells him that ever since they became involved, things have continued happening to her that she never should have had to experience. She doesn't even know how long this situation will continue, and she doesn't want to spend the rest of her life constantly watching Kangwook, worrying about him and being afraid that something terrible will happen. Yuri admits that she is already struggling, just dealing with her own problems. So with tears in her eyes, she asks Kangwook to end things. Kangwook refuses to accept it. He tells her that once everything is resolved, she can make whatever decision she wants, but right now Yuri herself has become a target. If she gets summoned by the prosecution, she could be dragged into an even bigger mess. He also reminds her that they have to protect Reina and Sienna. Instead of separating, Kangwook asks Yuri to face everything together with him. But Yuri still believes that ending their relationship is the best thing for both of them. Even when Kangwook's grandmother tries to convince her otherwise, Yuri doesn't change her mind. Meanwhile, Kangwook confronts his grandmother about meeting Yuri behind his back. He is furious because he had specifically asked his grandmother to watch over Yuri rather than interfere. He feels that she prioritized her own peace of mind over his feelings. His grandmother insists that she only did what she thought was best for him, but Kangwook isn't convinced. While his personal life is falling apart, Kangwook also has a major business battle to deal with. His company is facing serious allegations, but there is something strange happening behind the scenes. Despite the pressure against Reina, someone is secretly buying up huge amounts of its stock. The purchases are coming through DLC securities, and when Kangwook's team investigates further, they discover that the mysterious force behind the purchases is CL. Kangwook immediately suspects that this isn't just ordinary investment. He confronts the person behind it and asks whether they are planning a hostile takeover of Reina. The answer is deliberately vague, but it becomes clear that CL has been targeting Reina for some time. Then another mystery resurfaces. Kangwook questions someone about the pendant that belonged to Jiwon. He has been told that the pendant was taken from the scene of the accident by a family member, but the person in front of him isn't giving him a straight answer. Eventually, the pendant is revealed to have been recovered after 12 years. It had nearly been destroyed at a center, but someone managed to save it because it was the last thing Jiwon had with him. The pendant is then returned to Jiwon's family. For his mother, the moment is incredibly emotional. She thanks Kangwook for not forgetting her son. Kangwook tells her that he could never forget Jiwon because he was his one and only brother. But the pendant is far more important than anyone initially realized. Later, Kangwook takes it to Yuri because he knows she has been searching for it. And when Yuri sees it, she immediately recognizes it. She asks where Kangwook got it, and he explains that someone from his grandmother's volunteer group gave it to him. The person who gave it to him claimed that the pendant could protect its wearer from bad energy. There is also a strange symbol engraved on the back. Kangwook has been told that the symbol is essentially the maker's mark and could potentially reveal where the pendant was created. Yuri asks him to help investigate it. But Kangwook makes a request of his own. He tells Yuri to stay exactly where she is and let him handle the dangerous part. That way, she can keep her promise to his grandmother without completely abandoning him. At the same time, the prosecution case is moving forward. Kangwook is preparing for another difficult investigation, while the legal team warns him that the opposing side intends to deny everything. The pressure becomes even greater when a prosecutor reveals that they have reported corruption within their own organization. That internal whistleblowing comes at a cost. Instead of being rewarded, the prosecutor is punished with a transfer to a remote location. He realizes that his career may be suffering because he chose to expose corruption, but he refuses to regret doing what he believed was right. Then the investigation into the pendant finally produces an astonishing lead. A team member manages to trace the symbol on the pendant to a secretive organization. There are no normal social media accounts connected to the place. Instead, it operates through private communities and hidden networks. And the clientele: extremely wealthy and powerful people. The symbol on the back of the pendant isn't simply a maker's mark. It is actually a kind of access token, something that allows its owner to enter this mysterious establishment. Kangwook tracks down the person connected to the pendant and learns something even more disturbing. The woman explains that she didn't make it herself. Her deceased mother did. And then she tells Yuri something that completely changes the meaning of the pendant. According to her, the pendant belonged to someone who had already died. But somehow, Yuri brought that person's soul back. She claims that the pendant caused the natural order of life and death to be disturbed. The dead are supposed to remain dead, and the living are supposed to continue along their own paths. But Yuri's actions supposedly changed that fate. And now she is paying the price. Yuri is devastated. Because if the woman is telling the truth, it means Jiwon died because of her. She remembers what Jiwon once told her, that if he could save her, he didn't care what happened to him. He even told her that if something happened, she should live and let him die in her place. Kangwook refuses to let Yuri blame herself. He points out that there is no way to prove whether the pendant caused Jiwon's death, or whether what happened was simply their fate. And if Jiwon really did sacrifice himself for Yuri, Kangwook believes Jiwon would never have seen it as something she needed to feel guilty about. He would have seen it as a gift. So Kangwook tells Yuri not to punish herself. The investigation into the corruption case also takes a dramatic turn. Park Jin-dong, the politician who was facing allegations involving bribery, secret stock trading, and influence over a highway route, is suddenly found dead. His death means the criminal case against him cannot proceed in the usual way. But his death creates another problem for everyone connected to the corruption scandal. The people behind the scheme begin scrambling to protect themselves. Meanwhile, the pressure against the corrupt prosecutors continues, and one of the powerful women involved starts considering whether she can use her connections to make the investigation disappear. And just when it seems like the corruption scandal is becoming the biggest threat, Park Seung-yi makes his move. Park Seung-yi had been granted special temporary leave because of his father's funeral. But he violates the conditions of that release and disappears. He is officially classified as a fugitive. However, Seung-yi doesn't disappear without a reason. He has information about what happened 12 years ago. And he eventually comes face to face with Yuri. He reminds her of the yacht incident from 12 years earlier. Yuri immediately wants answers. But Seung-yi refuses to tell her everything. He claims that there is still a much bigger move he needs to make first. If that plan fails, he'll contact her. Then he drops a terrifying clue. There is someone he intends to blackmail. Yuri demands to know who. But Seung-yi simply asks whether she genuinely doesn't know what happened, or whether she's pretending not to know. Before she can get a proper answer, he leaves. And this is where the mystery surrounding the yacht accident starts becoming much darker. Seung-yi later approaches another person connected to the past and reveals that he has discovered something extremely valuable. He has apparently found an old recording, something connected to the events 12 years ago. He claims that he plans to leave Korea permanently and demands a boat and 100 billion won. The person he is blackmailing refuses to give in. He insists that whatever video Seung-yi has isn't enough to destroy him. But Seung-yi points out that the legal process could take years, and during that time, the person's reputation, especially with his family expecting him to become the next head of the company, could be completely destroyed. Then Seung-yi makes it clear that 100 billion isn't necessarily the end of his demands. The situation becomes increasingly threatening. Eventually, the person being blackmailed snaps and tells Seung-yi that he knows exactly what kind of person he is. He believes Seung-yi will never stop demanding money. The confrontation ends with a chilling threat. Meanwhile, Yuri decides that she needs to know the truth about the yacht incident, no matter what it costs her. She contacts Seung-yi and tells him that whatever he knows about what happened 12 years ago, she is willing to give him what he wants in exchange for the truth. She asks him to send her his address. But before everything can be resolved, another shocking situation unfolds. Yuri ends up in danger. Kang-wook receives word that Park Seung-yi has escaped and goes looking for him. Eventually, he finds Yuri at the scene. She insists that she will speak to the police and says that her lawyer is on the way. But it is obvious that something much bigger has happened. At the same time, the investigation into Seung-yi's disappearance continues. The police find very little on CCTV, except for a taxi, but a piece of evidence is eventually recovered from the scene. A cufflink. The investigators immediately decide to send it to forensic analysis. And then the episode jumps back to Yuri. She appears exhausted and completely overwhelmed. Kang-wook finds her and desperately tries to wake her up. He calls her name repeatedly, begging her to come around. But Yuri is barely responsive. The episode ends with her seemingly stranded and vulnerable, as the lyrics describe someone being lost on a road with nothing left but loneliness. And that ending leaves us with several huge questions. What exactly happened during the yacht accident 12 years ago? What does Park Seung-yi's mysterious video prove? Who is he really blackmailing? Why was Jiwon's pendant connected to this secretive organization? And most importantly, did the pendant really change Yuri and Jiwon's fate? Or is there a much more human explanation behind everything? With Kang-wook being forced away from his position, Yuri caught in another dangerous situation, and Seung-yi holding a potentially explosive piece of evidence, episode 11 leaves almost every major storyline hanging by a thread. And now, the truth about what happened 12 years ago may finally be close to coming out.